Easy, Tiger, let's not do anything rash. I've got 4 cheap and easy ways to make real coffee at home without an espresso machine. I've even got a sneaky way to make a flat white. All of that and more is coming up right after this. Hey, it's Ben from 7 Miles Coffee Roasters. On this channel, we normally talk about professional coffee skills, coffee science, that kind of thing. Not today. Today, we're talking about making coffee at home. So it's going to be a little less science and a little bit more practical on how to get it done. In today's lineup, we're going to look at 4 different coffee brewers: the Coffee Plunger, the Aeropress, the Clever Coffee Dripper, and the Stovetop espresso maker. They're all really easy to get hold of, they're quite cheap, and most importantly, they make great tasting coffee. So first things first, if we want to get a great balance of flavor with coffee, we need to get the ratio of coffee to water right. So let me introduce you to the golden ratio. That is 60 grams of coffee for every liter of water. So here's a quick way to work that out. If you measure the amount of water your coffee brewer holds and you divide that number by 17, you'll have the amount of coffee in grams that you need to meet that ratio. Thanks, maths. I knew you'd come in handy. Now the first brewer we're going to look at is this little guy here. Some people call it a French press, a cafetiere, but where I live, it's called a Coffee Plunger. Now Coffee Plunger is a great place to start. A lot of people already have one in the back of their pantry gathering dust. If not, they're still easy to get hold of online and they're pretty cheap. You can probably pick one up for about 20 bucks. So this is how it works. We're going to remove the plunger and we're going to put coarse ground coffee in. We're going to boil the kettle and let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute. We want the temperature to come down to about 93 degrees. Pour the water in and give it a quick stir with a spoon to make sure the grounds are fully saturated. We're then going to pop the top on and leave it for 4 minutes to brew. When 4 minutes is up, we're going to plunge down slowly and we're going to let it sit for a little bit longer just to let some of the grounds settle. The kind of coffee you're going to get out of a coffee plunger is pretty heavy. It's got a little bit of a gritty, chalky texture to it. Now the next guy we're going to talk about is the Aeropress. Baristas absolutely love this guy. It makes great tasting coffee, it's really easy to use, and it's laughably easy to clean up. The coffee it makes is going to be a little bit lighter than the plunger, but it's not going to be as light as a filter coffee or a pour over coffee that we'll take a look at later. So this is how you use it. You pull apart the syringe and you remove the cap from the end. You'll need to pop in one of the paper filters and give it a quick rinse just to get rid of any papery taste that might come through. Screw that on the end, pop it on top of a really solid mug. You don't want to use any fancy glass or fine china porcelain. This thing will need a whole lot of pressure when you push it down, so make sure it's a solid mug. Now you want to add 14 grams of medium or filter ground coffee, and you want to fill water most of the way to the top, 220 mils to be exact. We want to loosely pop the plunger on the top and leave it for a minute to brew. Now after a minute, you want to put both hands on the top and slowly push the plunger down until all the water has passed through the coffee, and then you're all done. Now the third brewer we're looking at is the Clever Coffee Dripper. Now I'll grant you it's not the prettiest brewer I've ever seen, but it can make delicious filter coffee really, really easy. Here's how it works. You first need to rinse the paper filter with a little bit of water just to get rid of the papery taste. Then we're going to add 18 grams of medium or filter ground coffee and pop that into the brewer. Now just like for the other brewers, we're going to take water that's just off the boil, around about 93 degrees, and we're going to pour 300 mils of water over the grounds. We're going to give it a stir with a spoon to make sure there's no more dry grounds, and then we're going to leave it to sit for 3 minutes to brew. When that's done, you just pop it on your favourite mug, let it drain through, and you're ready to go. The coffee you get from this brewer is really clean and refined, so if you like the kind of filter coffee or batch brew coffee that you get at a cafe normally, then you're really going to like the coffee that you get from this brewer. The last one we're going to look at today is called a Moka pot or a Stovetop espresso. Now this guy is an absolute staple in Italian home kitchens, and here's why. The coffee it makes is really deep and rich. It's the complete opposite to the filter coffee that we've had from the Clever Coffee Dripper or from the Aeropress. So it's the other end of the scale. Now there's a couple of different opinions on the best way to get great coffee out of a stovetop espresso. I'm going to use hot water to start with because that will speed up the extraction process and it's going to help minimize some of the bitterness that can be a problem with this type of brewing. So the first step, we want to pour hot water into the brewer right up to the base of the little brass valve in the bottom section. We're going to fill the coffee filter with ground coffee. Now the grind of coffee that we use for this is going to be a little bit coarser than a typical espresso grind. Now you want to hold the bottom section with the tea towel. Got to be careful, it's a little bit hot now. And you want to screw the top section on until it makes a good solid seal. Pop it on the stove on a medium heat. After a minute or two, you'll see the coffee start to flow out. When you hear the air escaping at the end, you want to shut off the heat and run the base of the brewer under some cold water to cool it down. And all that's left is to pour it in a cup. Now, stovetop espresso makers are really easy to find at department stores or online. They normally start at around $30. I think I picked this one up for about $20 from Aldi. Works great. Now here's my bonus tip for steaming milk at home without a machine to make, say, a flat white or a latte. This trick has been around the internet a lot, but in case you haven't seen it, here's how it works. You need to grab a clean glass coffee plunger, remove the metal parts from the middle and pour in about 200 mils of milk. You want to heat that in the microwave for about a minute and a half, depending on how powerful your microwave is. When it's done, pop the plunger back in and plunge it up and down quickly for about 20 seconds to make a creamy, dense milk foam. Remove the plunger, give it a bit of a swirl and maybe a bit of a tap just to settle that milk down, and then pour it into your coffee to make a flat white or a latte. Now it's not necessarily going to be the prettiest thing in the world, but it still tastes great. That's it from me. Why don't you tell me in the comments below what's your go-to device for making great coffee at home? If this video's helped you out at all, why don't you hit the like button to let us know we're on the right track. Till next time, bye.